Welcome to Table Talk, where there's always room at the table. I am your host, Jonathan Harmon of the J. Harmon Home Team, and we can't wait to talk to these fine guests. Enjoy the show. All right. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jonathan Harmon of the J. Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. This is Table Talk, and this is Ladawna Parham.
Hey
Parham.
there.
Parham.
Parham. Yep.
So I have a friend, her last name is Parham, and it's spelled exactly the same.
Yeah, it gets everyone.
So how does somebody know if it's Parham or Parham?
Luck of the draw, guess, draw a pronunciation tag out of a hat, whatever you want to do. But there are so many Parhams and Parhams, and I get weird stuff. I've gotten Park and Arkenham, I've gotten Parsham, Parham.
Park and Arkenham?
Yep. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Were they drunk at least?
But when you have the first name Ladawna and spelled the way that I do, it's just pretty much I just wait for somebody to look confused and go, that's me. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, anyway, so I've got Ladawna here. She's a friend. She's involved in all kinds of cool stuff here in Rutherford County, including Nourish Food Bank, amongst many other things. She's a real estate agent. She's involved in several other organizations and just all over the place. I guess I got to know you first through Rotary Club. So Smyrna Rotary, Ladawna and I are both Rotarians there. So like I said, just involved in all kinds of stuff. And today we're going to talk about one that I don't know very much about, which is Junior League.
Junior League.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar. I kind of know the concept behind it, but obviously I'm not the right person to be in it, so I don't know a whole lot about it. So we'll get to that here in just a sec. Before we do that, though, we do want to hear from our friend Brian Nail over at Premise Mortgage. We love Brian. Brian loves Spread the Positive. Brian loves Murfreesboro and does a lot also in this community. So big fan of Brian Nail and his help with Spread the Positive. Brian?
Hey, my name is Brian Nail. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Premise Bank Mortgage. I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission and helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's truly a pleasure to be part of. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com.
Premise Mortgage is a subsidiary of Premise Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Premise Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
The mission over here at Spread the Positive and being a big fan of our community. So Ladawna, Junior League, here's what I know about it. It's a women's organization.
Mm-hmm. Well done. Good job.
That's it.
So, well, you got one piece of it totally correct. So I applaud you.
1 for 1.
1 for 1. There you go. I'm going to start with the myth of Junior League.
I love that. Let's debunk it.
Yes, let's debunk it.
Okay.
Because I didn't join for a real long time. It had always been, when I was living in Nashville 132 years ago, I saw the fancy building in Green Hills.
Good for your age.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
400-year-old.
Yeah, not
like
no
a
dust
Yoda.
falling off. Or...
Look as good when 900. Yeah. Okay. So I always thought that they were the white gloves, wear your pearls in your heels when you're vacuuming. Like that's what I had in my head.
Yes.
And then I know Dana Womack.
Mm-hmm.
She convinced me to come out and just hear what they have to say because she's a member. And she's like, people wear yoga pants, people wear jeans. It's not that. Give it a shot. I was like, okay, Dana, we'll see. But if one person shows up in pearls, I'm out.
Pearls are nice.
No, I love pearls, but we're debunking here.
Okay, got it.
So I showed up, and people were in a whole array of things, and they were not all people who had tons of time on their hands, which was the other thing that I thought. I thought that this was all women who were amazing in their own right, but weren't in careers or other clubs or things like that. So I wasn't sure how I would connect with them, which was all sorts of biases on my part, by the way, that I totally own, and it was ridiculous. But so it was really exciting to see all these community leaders, people who were leading families and people who were leading companies and people who were leading the charge in all sorts of advocacy efforts and across the spectrum. And so I signed up to check it out. And at my very first meeting, they showed this video about the origins of Junior League, which started with young women. But since we're debunking, I'll say it is not all clearly like your co-eds and debutantes. It's women of all ages. But when it was started by a group of young women, the 18-year-old socialites who at that point in time in the early 1900s, which is sort of hard to believe now in the early 1900s, but who felt like they had more to offer the world than just marrying well for their families. So I was immediately hooked because I'm like, yes, you have more to offer the world than just your femininity, and so they got together and took a look at what was happening in their community, at where the needs were, where people were in crises, and formed this league of women, young socialites who wanted to make a difference in that way, who wanted to volunteer and raise money for supplies. And so they started in one area of need. And as those needs evolved over the next century and a quarter, Junior League has evolved with it. Junior League was part of the push to get women into the workforce when men went off to World War I and II. And then when everybody came back and women were supposed to be sent home to the suburbs, they were the ones who were like, okay, but we still have value and meaning and we want to contribute to our community. What do we do now? And they're the ones who helped start the free and reduced lunch program in the schools because they saw those needs for those kids. And they were the ones who pushed for that and started that going, which, is a huge passion point for me.
Sure, yeah.
And it has just continued to evolve with the times and the needs of our society. It's a global organization. The parent company is AJLI, which is the Association of Junior Leagues International. And we're in every country doing the work that matters in every country and helping to organize women. The goal of Junior League is to bring women together and train them and provide the resources that they need to go out and effectively serve their communities, whether that's in a leadership role or strictly through volunteerism. But that volunteerism is the core of how anything gets done in our communities that benefits the whole and helps everyone rise. And so now there is a huge focus on mental health as an organization because that taps into so many aspects of what's happening in our world. But each organization locally has specific partners that they work with in the community that they volunteer with.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I jotted down. So sorry, I jot stuff down as you're talking because I don't want to interrupt you. But so you said your Junior League is in every country. So obviously, the mission and the need for women's involvement and things like that are going to vary wildly across the globe. I mean, I would venture to say that in some countries they're still fighting just to have a voice.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, just hard stop right there. Let us at least participate.
Yes.
And and then here you get into a little bit more philanthropical. There's still things that needs to happen. There's still glass ceilings. There's still things like that. But also just what now that we've gotten this far, what can we do next, kind of deal, and how can we serve our community? I think one of the interesting things you were talking about the pearls while they vacuum image. I've always looked the little bit that I know about Junior League. It's always been the wealthier people that are involved in that, right? And to some extent, there has to be at least a little bit of wealth, at least behind somebody to be able to take time and then go to volunteer and to spend time doing that, whether it's the company or it's the person or whatever. Is that accurate?
Not necessarily. So, for example, I pardon me, I work multiple jobs.
Right.
And I buy groceries at Dollar Tree. Like, I'm not a debutante or a socialite or have that kind of backing at all. I'm a single mom working multiple jobs.
Right.
But what Junior League has to offer is because of those connections in the community, we have something for everybody. If you can only volunteer your time at night or on the weekend or during the day because you're working nights and weekends because you're in hospitality,
Sure.
our organizations in the community, our nonprofits, are always serving. So there's always somewhere
That makes
to
sense.
plug you in.
So, are there multiple organizations that Junior League participates with? Is it sort of like a United Way in that regard, or
Yes and no. It's not like United Way, but there are multiple organizations that we participate in. United Way is a funding body for those organizations. We are not a funding body, but we provide bodies to them for service.
So the labor as opposed to the funds.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are several organizations that Junior League helped start. I mean, we've been around for 31 years, and we were started by women who were more affluent, but who had a heart for service.
Right.
And in those early days, they helped found things like Books from Birth and the Child Advocacy Center, and were huge in bringing Boys and Girls Club to the community, and
Really?
lots of things that you wouldn't even think about that still exist today that they helped bring in, they helped raise money for, they helped establish, and then handing those pieces off to those organizations as they continue to grow and thrive.
Wow.
A lot of them we're still heavily involved in. We still have liaisons to the board for the Child Advocacy Center. And we go and volunteer whenever those are possible. So somebody will get in touch with our community chair, and they will post volunteer opportunities through our site that all of our members can sign up for. So we have meetings and trainings on how to be board members and what volunteerism looks like and those different things. And we'll bring nonprofits in to talk about what they have available and what their needs are, and we'll make those connections. But then we also have a sign up for ongoing volunteer opportunities, events that are happening they need volunteers for, whatever that might be, so our members can directly connect that way.
What are some of the things that right now are some of the focuses of Murfreesboro's Junior League?
So that is different every day because it depends completely on what those organizations need in that moment.
But there's not one that's like specific
there's not
to Junior
one
League.
that, because Junior League doesn't host volunteer activities, we put our people to work in the community as volunteers. We are not hosting them because we feel like we don't need to recreate the wheel. There are so many amazing organizations in the area that are doing good work. We want to help them do that good work and grow that good work.
Let me redirect the question then. So you said that they essentially planted Books from Birth and Child Advocacy Center, and some of these others. Is there an organization now that the current Junior League is trying to grow? Is there some other
that we're
initiative?
Planting and growing?
Yes.
No. So, we do have our new member group. Every time the new members come in every year, which right now we're in the process of accepting applications for our new year, which will start in August. And then that new member group always has a project that they work on. So, for example, this last year, they did Loads of Love, which gathered laundry baskets full of supplies to deliver to folks who have been displaced from their homes and are living in hotels and campgrounds in the area. So they had cleaning and personal hygiene and health and food and things for the kids. A lot of the hotels have curfews, and so if you've got a room full of kids locked in a one-room hotel room at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, things that they can do. But just to bring hope, to bring supplies and support. But that was the project that they worked on this year.
So not necessarily through an organization,
Right.
Another organization.
Right.
Got
And
it.
so they partnered with Nourish. They partnered with someone else in the community who does the Murfreesboro Faith Project, and got lists of people who would benefit from that in the hotel. So even when we're doing our own project, we're doing it in partnership with other
Sure.
organizations. Prior new member projects have included the Empower Her project, which took young women in 8th through 10th grade who are kind of in that finding themselves really vulnerable, lots going on in the schools, and did empowerment work, self-esteem work, brought in amazing speakers and workshops. So every year that piece is a little bit different. And then we also do fundraisers to support our scholarship program, where we give funds to a young woman who is graduating, who has had a lot of volunteer work in her community and is doing well in school, and typically who has some kind of need for college. We were exceptionally fortunate to work with someone this year who managed to keep perfect attendance, do dual enrollment classes, keep her grades up, get into college, all while homeless.
Oh my
And
word.
so, and I won't go into her story. That's her story to tell. But she unfortunately was homeless and didn't have a vehicle. And she had a friend who was able to allow her to stay with her some. And so we were able to support her through the scholarship program to help offset some room and board costs at MTSU, where she's going. Go Big Blue. But then also, right? But then also connected her to Nourish and Mechanics on a Mission. And through Nourish's partnership with Mechanics on a Mission was able to get her a car. And so now she no longer has to Uber to school, which is what she was doing. So she was working 35 hours a week and Ubering to school so that she could keep that up and have a life for herself. And now she doesn't have to do that anymore. And so I love, we've talked so much before at different opportunities about the power of partnerships and the power of network. And I love that Junior League, even though it's so behind the scenes, so many people don't know what's going on, that Junior League is such an important part of weaving that web
I
of
think
support.
I think you're exactly right. I think that's part of, I don't know if you want to call it the problem, but why people don't know a whole lot about what Junior League is or does, right? Like you look at our Rotary Club, for example.
Mhm.
Okay, we built a playground. We have a fish fry every year. All these different organizations come to us and get a check. I mean, there's all this stuff that we built the soccer park in Smyrna. All these different things that our club does that
Right.
is very visible, very very Rotary centric, right?
Right.
Junior League, on the other hand, they're the labor that's behind all these other things,
Right.
or at least contributing to all these other things, great things that are happening. So truly unsung heroes as far as getting the actual work done.
Yes.
And I think that's where what a lot of people don't realize. First of all, Rutherford County is rich with philanthropic organizations, with groups that are trying to do the work, trying to pick people up and help people out in all kinds of different ways. I mean, I could sit here and probably name 30 organizations
Right.
just like that are doing different tasks and helping with different populations, different needs, different situations, that kind of thing. And almost all of them have some kind of fundraiser, right?
Yes.
Or two or three, or
Yes.
seems like they're always raising funds or whatever, right? And through organizations like United Way and some of these others, they get some assistance with that. And I think a lot of people misunderstand what United Way does in the same way, right?
Right.
But what they don't see is that all of those organizations, they can have all the money that they need, but without hands to actually put
Yes.
the money to work, they're just sitting on a bank account. It doesn't really
Right.
accomplish a whole lot without the hands to make the actual work happen. And that's where Junior League comes in.
Absolutely. Like Nourish, for example, we've got an event coming up in August, and we kind of made our volunteer chart for when we need people in those shifts. And over the course of the whole event, we need 44 people.
Mm-hmm.
Is more is always great, but 44 people is kind of what it's going to take. That's a lot of people, and especially in our current environment, people would rather write a check. They'd rather not have to do anything. But if they're going to be able to be support, just because there's so much going on in the economy
Sure.
and all that, I don't mean that ugly, but there's
No,
so much
no,
going
you're
on.
right.
But they would rather stroke that check than take that time to go and help because
And commit to it. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be there if I don't have anything else going on that day,
Yes.
and I'll decide that day. Well, it doesn't really work that way.
yeah, and the commitment level has dropped off so much since COVID for people.
Sure.
Everybody, we talk about this in our nonprofit circles so much, and I'm sure you see it at events that you're going to too. But used to, if you bought a ticket to something, you were going and you looked forward to it and you shared it with your friends and all your friends were going and you made a thing of it. And now it's you buy a ticket, but man, these pajamas feel great tonight. I think I'm just going to stay home. It's not the same. And people kind of got used to not doing anything during COVID, not that it's ended, but during 2020.
Right.
And then coming back from that, it has been this I mean, if
And
I
it's
feel like it.
and it's all across. I mean, it's everything. You even see it with school attendance, and I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
You know, it just felt good to not go to every
Yes.
single thing. I mean, I don't know how else to say that.
Right.
You know,
And I realized a huge piece of that was just that sort of mental health self-protection piece. There's been so much to, we'll say, decompress about in in the last few years. And so that's just part of people's self-care. But I do hope that we continue to move out of that, because there are organizations that are in need, and our community suffers when they can't provide that support fully. And so Junior League is one of those organizations that really tries to step up and say, I may not be able to fill all those volunteer needs, but we can fill a bunch.
but
We're
I'm
going to
sure we'll
sign
have
up.
5 people show up,
We'll
or 10
have people
people, or
show up.
whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. So, can you give? I'm not expecting you on the fly to give a comprehensive list, but a pretty good list of organizations that you guys have supported and will continue to support.
No, I can give some, but it is in no way comprehensive. So, yes, over Memorial Day, we worked with a group to go out and put flags on veteran headstones at the cemetery and be part of that.
Boy Scouts do that too, right?
Yes,
Okay.
they sure do. Several groups do that, and the Rockville High Band doesn't do that at the veterans cemeteries, but they go to people's houses during those holidays. They've got one coming up for 4th of July, and they'll place those flags just in honor.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is cool. And so Boys and Girls Club, Child Advocacy Center, Books from Birth, Nourish, Read to Succeed, Habitat for Humanity, obviously, have gone and done that. Journey Home. There's just been pretty much, if you can name a volunteer need at an organization, we have at some point in time, members have gone and done that. Feed America First. Yeah, pretty much if you can think of it, we have done something. But again, we don't have one that we're there every week. It's, we have this need. Can you post this need at Junior League? Absolutely, and we'll post that need.
So, how many members are there in your particular chapter?
So I'm expecting us to have around 75 this fall. And
then when you have each member, I'm assuming when they show up to work, they can bring a spouse or an adult child or whatever. Is that right?
Yes, they absolutely can. We have them bring their kids a lot, but they certainly can bring a spouse, bring a friend, bring your neighborhood, like whatever that looks like.
Because I think that's an important thing to note is even if they're not the debutantes or whatever, they're generally going to be relatively well connected people that have other people that, if they may not commit to the club or the organization, but they are going to come and work an event or two with that person. So you have 75 members. You really have 200 or 300 people probably.
Yes. And I'll say there are sort of two sides to that coin, if I can talk about that for just a second. On the one side, yes, absolutely, they have those people, and I'm going to talk from the Nourish perspective for just a second. Having those people, while it doesn't make you rich, the people support is what makes the difference between you and me and the people who are sitting in my lobby. Most of the people who are sitting in my lobby at Nourish work at least one, but typically 2 and 3 jobs. Most of my clients are the working poor.
Sure.
But they're not making sufficient funds, and they don't have those people support. So if they have a sick kid, they don't have somebody who can watch that kid. They have to miss work, and then they lose their job.
Right.
Or if they get a flat tire, they don't have somebody who can pick them up and take them to work. They lose that job. And so that is the defining point of difference between you and me sitting here today talking about it and the people who are sitting in my lobby. And so for our folks in Junior League who are able to do that, they may not have the money, but they have those people. And I just think that's such a huge important thing.
Yeah. Wow, I never thought about that.
And the more we can help provide those people for people, the more we can truly make a difference.
Yeah, that's interesting because we talk about, these are my people, right? So if the air conditioning goes out, I know who I call. And if this happens, I know who I call. And if this happens, I've got my mom in the community. I've got my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister-in-law, my grandmother, my aunt. I mean, like I can sit here and name, and these are people that would quite literally drop
everything,
just about anything
Yep.
to help out with something. And then that's just one layer, right? And then there's a whole network of community that I have from a purely clinical standpoint that I have at my disposal.
Right.
That's not what I mean, friends.
Right.
But
it's true. It really does make that difference. When I was working at Vanderbilt, I ran programs for low-income seniors across a 9-county area. And we literally had seniors that were being referred into the program, and we would go to check on them, and they had, during the summer in Tennessee, had passed away because they lost their power, so they had no air conditioning, and their refrigerators wouldn't work. So their food would go bad. They would try and stand in front of their freezers to get cool, and then that would run down, and then their food would go bad, and then they had nobody there to check on them, nobody to help them, nobody to provide new food, nobody to repair those things. And so then they were eating the spoiled food, and they were either passing out from heat exhaustion or dying from food poisoning because they had no help. And
no one to give a damn.
It's shocking that happens in a first world country, and that happens in as overall affluent a region as we live in. But when you don't have people and you don't have funds, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, and then you can go from the mental health side of things. You can have all the funds that you in the world, but if you don't have people,
yeah.
Wow.
But the other side, on a lighter note, the other side of that coin with having the people, one of the things that I've really loved about Junior League is it is a different group of people. So just like you said, I'm in all sorts of things. I'm affiliated with you through all sorts of things. Brian Nail, who we got to hear from earlier, he's so great, and he's in diplomats with me and always has fun socks.
He does.
He does. But
I used to do that, and then I got less diligent about it. He's still very diligent about
that. But I tend to be, even though I'm in all these different groups, they tend to be the same folks, business people and community leaders and connected people in different ways. And with Junior League, they are such a broad spectrum of people that aren't in those same groups with me all the time. And I loved getting to have like this new group of women that I could be a different version of me.
But you can also pull, you can bridge a gap between several different groups of folks. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I've really loved that. And I think that's powerful for all the women that join Junior League to have sort of an immediate sisterhood. Like I don't use that term to be, cliche.
Sure.
But you are immediately going into a group of women who are like, I've got your back. I'm your people now. Like if you have no one else, I'm your person. And if you have 1 million people, I'm someone different to talk to, and I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with you in that gap for people in need, whatever that looks like today.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. You said applications are due when?
So by the end of June, technically, but since I'm just now doing this,
that's like this week, right?
Yes. So probably if we got them in by mid-July, we'd still be like, okay. But
and where do they get the applications?
So they can go online. Obviously, they can contact me or anybody else that they know in Junior League, and we can get that for them. But they can go online to jlmonline.org, and the applications are available there. And there is a small cost because we are bringing in speakers and providing food and all of those kind of things. We do have a scholarship program and all of that. So there is a small cost, but they have payment options and things to try and make it even more accessible to folks.
How often are meetings?
So meetings are once a month. They're the second Monday of each month at 6 o'clock at Redstone.
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m., Yes.
At the
I don't
well,
that's gross.
hey, there's a Rotary Club that meets about that time.
Yeah,
so
that is
so
gross.
the
and a
giant
violation.
redstone building on
Medical Center.
Medical Center.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. And so we have great food, we have great conversation, and a great time. We have previously done an event called Holidays, where we brought in vendors and kind of that first weekend of December. And that was our big fundraiser for our scholarship. This year, we're going to do a couple of different things. There are a number of those that are going on now, of those kind of holiday fairs in the area. And so we want to shift our focus to some new opportunities to get folks excited and engaged in supporting that program. Outside of that particular fundraiser, we also have sponsorship opportunities for businesses throughout the year, and our sponsors get all sorts of recognition throughout the year and at events. But at every meeting, they get a chance to get up and speak about their mission, their company, to that group of women, and then that's shared through our various people networks.
Very cool. Very cool. Ladawna Parham, Junior League,
Yeah.
Nourish Food Bank, Smyrna Rotary Club.
There's a few.
Yeah. Selling houses, all kinds of cool stuff going on over in Ladawna land. And real quick, plug the Nourish event that you got coming up.
Thanks. So that is August 26th, and it is Gamapalooza. And think of it like a live action, life size version of games that you used to play growing up as a kid. So Hungry Hungry Hippo, Battleship, Candyland, Pac-Man. You are the pieces, not just the players. And
Is somebody going to blow me up if I'm a Battleship piece?
It's going to be a mystery. You'll have to find out when you come. But it's going to be
that's terrifying.
It's going to be amazing. Super excited. We're just starting to kind of put some stuff out there to let people know
Where's it going to
what's
be?
happening. It's going to be at Saddlewoods Farms on Highway 96. Just
Okay.
past Veterans Parkway.
Got it.
But there's going to be food. And the cool thing about it is we have 2 different versions of the event that are happening on the same day. So from 2 to 4, we're having our family event. And so it's something, runs are amazing. Super happy to support all the runs, go do all the runs to support all the nonprofits. But it is fabulous to have something else besides a run that families can do together.
I don't run.
Yeah, I'm not.
You got to be chasing me
runner.
with a very large machete or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's going on from 2 to 4, and then we've got a reset, and we're setting up the adult beverage station and all of that for the adults portion
Hang
from
on.
6 to 8.
No adult beverages at the
At
family
the
one?
family. Mm-mm. No, you can
How
just
am I
go
gonna make
home
it
and
through
drink to
that?
recover.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Get home, crack open a beer, or get to a brewery.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good idea.
Like, do you know any in town that
There's
might
this
be?
one that I saw. There's one opening out that. No, wait, that's not what I'm supposed to.
Cedar Glade,
Yeah,
right?
that's it, yeah.
So that's super fun. Very interactive, very ridiculous. If you've been to a Nourish event, we tend to be a little over the top. And this is
Yes.
probably our most over the top spectacle yet.
Outstanding.
So we like to have fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, very good. Thank you so much. Real quick, what's the website?
JLMonline.org.
JLMonline.org.
And you can also find us on Facebook, Junior League of Murfreesboro.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I should have said Madam President, right? Because you were the president last year.
Yeah, I'm the immediate past president. Our new president's Becca Goodwin. I'm now the nominating committee chair.
Gotcha. All right. Well, very good. If you have any questions, hit Ladawna up. If you have an ability to volunteer, but maybe you don't have an ability to be a full member of that, at least let Ladawna know. She can. I promise you, she can plug you in somewhere that you can volunteer, even if it's not through Junior League. So there's that. All right, Tom, how's it going back there? He gave me a thumbs up. That's awesome. Anything else that you know about going on in the community that people need to know about? Fireworks coming up. July
coming
4th.
up. There's Alzheimer's Association. There's going to be Gatsby coming up, and then there's the walk coming up. So pay attention on your social media to those things, or send me a message if you have any questions. I'm just director at nourishfoodbank.org. So if you've got questions about any of those things, I'm happy to connect.
Outstanding. All kinds of good stuff going on. Get plugged into this community, y'all. I mean, it is a great place to live, and it's a great place to live because of all the stuff that we have, but also all the opportunities that you have to serve and to participate in your community. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I don't like the phrase give back to the community, because to me it feels like it sounds like I took something from the community, and I prefer to say that we just participate to our ability, right?
Right.
And some people, maybe you can participate once a year. Great, that's awesome. And maybe you can't. Maybe you do need to be the person that just writes a check. That's great too. But
Hugely important, by the way, for every nonprofit.
absolutely. But look at the different ways that you can, and it just becomes more and more important to me every single year. Get your kids involved as well, right? Show them how to participate in the community and get them to volunteer. You know, the state has attempted to do that through Hope scholarships and things like that, that there's a component that goes along with that. It's because it's important. It's important to help out. And, you know, the alternative is that everybody that is hurting gets helped by the government. And we know that doesn't work, you know? So that means that the burden falls on your shoulders and my shoulders and Tom's shoulders and my kids' shoulders and, you know, those of us that can, right?
Right.
All right. You were going to say something else.
I was going to say, with kids, I know parents have very limited time. So if you feel like you can't get your kids out to something, but you want to give them that experience, there are tons of those opportunities too. Just one example, and I'm sorry to keep using Nourish. It's just because I know it's the best, but other organizations will have this kind of thing too. But we've had them in lieu of people bringing presents to a birthday party. They ask them to bring donated food that then they donate to the food bank or to other organizations. We've had them
Let's go back over that real quick because I didn't follow and now I understand. So my kid has a birthday party and doesn't want any presents, but instead of presents, bring food to donate to Nourish Food Bank.
Yes, and then their parents bring them to drop off that food, and they kind of get to see all that and connect to their cars lined up right now that this food is going into, and that's the difference that I've made. And I think that's really powerful for them.
For sure.
We've also had Girl Scout troops and other groups like that put together birthday kits for kids where they've got like an aluminum baking pan, and then they put box cake mix and frosting and paper plates and balloon bags and stuff so that they can send home a little birthday party for families that otherwise couldn't do that for their kids. So there are things like that that your child or your kids group or something that can do within themselves rather than going to an event if you don't have the ability to do that.
I love it. I love it. All right, Ladawna, thank you so much for all that you do in our community specifically, and also the organizations that you're involved in. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I see you behind the scenes of a whole bunch of different things, and that's pretty awesome. So maybe you should consider trying to bottle your energy and selling that. I think you could make some money at that.
I don't know that anybody wants my energy level. I know.
It's good stuff.
But thanks.
Ladawna Parham, if you have any questions, hit her up, director@nourishfoodbank.org.
Yes.
And other than that, check out the socials for all the cool stuff going on. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for having
Not
me.
weekend, week. It's still Tuesday.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.